And I can imagine him as a 18-year-old thinking that this girl is super cute and inviting him into the car. He's just like, I am going to jump through this window onto her lap. That's what he did.
What?
Yeah.
No. He didn't actually jump through the window.
He climbed through the window.
Onto her lap?
Onto her lap.
Seriously? You're listening to Cultureful. I'm your host, Jess Lynn. Happy Latinx Heritage Month. This is the second half of my conversation with Taryn, a Mexican-American from Northern California. In the first half, we got to know her grandparents, how they moved to California as farm workers and started their families. We also learn about what her parents were like as young people. In this episode, we hear about her parents' meet cute, their wedding, and starting a family of their own. I loved finding out what her family is up to now, and especially noticing the through lines. How family influences have shaped Taryn and her siblings' interests and careers. It also made me reflect on the idea that maintaining language and culture can be a kind of intergenerational privilege. The chance to grow up in communities where your heritage is celebrated and cultural practices are passed down. From what I'm learning, sociolinguistics and immigrant studies call this heritage language maintenance and cultural transmission. And it's powerful to hear how Taryn and her family are learning and celebrating their culture today. This episode also has some special musical treats. As always, you can watch the video version with photos on YouTube. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so now we know, the background of your mom's side and your dad's side. Let's fast forward to what's the story about how they met?
So my mom was from Woodland. My dad is from Esparto, California. Woodland is the county seat of Yolo County, which is a big ag county. And my dad's town, Esparto, is an ag city or ag town, but it is very, very, very tiny. So my dad's friends thought it was pretty cool to date a girl from Woodland because it was considered like the big town or the big city. And it's hilarious to think of Woodland as the big city where the cool girls are from. So my dad, he played football. He was kind of sporty in high school. He did track. He did music. He's a very talented, very athletic person. He graduated from Esparto High. I believe he graduated class of 86 with 34 students in his graduating class.
Teeny
and my mom,
tiny.
I know. My mom graduated class of 85. My mom was more dedicated to like academics. She's a year older than him. She went straight from high school to the workforce. So she at one point worked like 3 jobs. I think she was working in a preschool. She was working at Winchell's Donuts. She was having a great time. She moved out of her parents' house into an apartment across town with her cousin, who was her best friend, or one of her best friends. And she said that she worked 3 jobs, and they were also this like awesome party house. And I was like, Mom, did you ever sleep? And she's like, I don't think so. I just was having fun. I loved working and I loved hanging out with my friends. So it sounded like she had a great time. So my parents are both big party people. They enjoy going out. They, had lots of friends in the area growing up. And because their towns really weren't that far away from each other, they ended up meeting at a silo party. And
what's a silo party for a girl who did not grow up in a farm town?
So a silo is a big grain storage facility, and like a really simplified version of a silo is what looks like a barn with this big kind of cylinder coming up off of one side and a roof on top of the cylinder. And that's just like where all the grain will go to be stored.
The cylindrical part.
The cylindrical part is where they pour the grain in.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like a processing room or building off to the side of that, or like maybe where they come to like pick it up or something. That is my understanding of a silo from what I've seen of silos.
And so the party was in that processing room that was not in the cylindrical part.
Yes. I think the cylindrical part, the silo, so that's actually called the silo. If the silo wasn't empty, then yeah, people would not be in there.
Right.
or it was empty. But I think it was like the building part, the silo, where some like big party was going on, and people from Woodland and Esparto and the surrounding areas all were driving in to go and hang out. My mom was with two of her girlfriends. My dad had, I think, two of his guy friends there. And my mom had bronchitis at the time. She was
Oh.
19, my dad was 18. And she like was really sick and couldn't really talk. She had lost her voice. But her friend
But she was like,
was,
I'm still going to this party.
well,
like,
her
wow.
friend said, "You're going to this party because I want to meet boys tonight."
And I need a wing people.
Yes. Her friend was like, "I want to meet boys. You're going." And my mom's like, "Whatever, fine." So the three of them go. They're at this party. It must have been like a really big party because by like the end of it, they were like leaving without having met boys. And her friend, as they were getting in the car and were starting to drive away, was like complaining that they hadn't met any boys that night.
Just so disappointed.
She's just like, "This is the whole point. Like,
Aww.
lame." And so one of them, the other friend must have said, like, "Well, fine, look, those are some boys. There are three boys right there." And it was my dad and his two buddies from childhood were like hanging out. And so they slow the car down and they're just like, "Hey, like, what's up? Do you want us to show, do you want to like show us around town?" Cause it was closer to Esparto. And they're just like, "Hey, like, we're from Woodland. Do you want to hang out?"
They played their Woodland Girls card.
I'm sure it was just like, "We're cute. You're
know
hanging
it.
out." Like, yeah, we know it.
We're
You're
three
hanging
people.
out.
You're
Like,
three people.
let's go.
Wow, I
was
like that. They like rolled down their window and they picked up the boys.
So they picked up the boys. My dad was like, because my mom was in the passenger seat with bronchitis, could not talk. And he was just like, "This girl's really cute." So he hopped. My dad is a very charismatic person. He likes to make friends. Like, he makes friends very easily. And I can imagine him as a 18-year-old thinking that this girl is super cute and inviting him into the car. He's just like, "I am going to jump through this window onto her lap." That's what he did.
What?
Yeah.
No. He didn't actually jump through the window.
He climbed through the window.
Onto her lap?
Onto her lap.
Seriously?
Yes.
She corroborates this part of the story?
Yes. She's like, "I couldn't breathe. He was sitting on me."
What? That was his move, was to just like get onto her lap.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time that he's like talking to her.
Yes. I don't know if he was drunk or not. I could see it going both ways. Just, this is his personality. At one point, so my dad is a singer. He's in a band. He was also super into singing and music before. So he serenades her on her lap.
On her lap.
And he sings Earth Angel to her. And
I'm going to have to look up that song after.
It's an oldie song.
Earth Angel is a classic doo-wop song, first recorded by the Penguins in Los Angeles in 1954. And here's a special treat. Taryn's dad, Ray Cadena, singing it.
Earth angel, please be mine. My darling dear, love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you.
This is an epic way to start a love story. This is like in a movie, if they put it in a movie, like people would be like, "Well, this is too unrealistic."
Right. They're just like, "Who does this?" My dad.
Wow.
And I like to think that my mom was just kind of like, "He's cute, but like, what is he doing?"
Yeah.
My dad's a very big personality, but he's also, he makes friends really easily because of it. He's really great at, like, he's a performer. And I think you have to have a big personality to be a performer. So, yeah. I mean, it impressed my mom. She,
So he charmed her. Like this worked.
I think so. I don't know 100% what her impression was. She just kind of like pokes fun at him, but in like a cute way. I think she was charmed. But anyway, so they went around and he was like, I'm going to give you a tour of Esparto. Esparto has one road down this town. So he's like pointing out like there's the high school, there's like the library, there's the fire department, here's like a grain store, here's a restaurant. That's it.
End of tour. End of tour.
End of story. Oh, of course the grocery store, because that's where he used to work. So that's how my parents met. Anyway, my parents, their friend groups kind of started meshing a bit. He seems to have a very big impression on people when he first meets them. At, let's see, 22? He was 22, my mom was 23, and I was born. So they weren't living together. My dad was going to school, Sac City College, and she was working in a preschool full time. So I was bored. He decided to stop his studies at Sac City, and he started working at the Target warehouse as like a floor worker. And he worked there with his brother-in-laws and some other friends of his. It was actually a very popular place to work because at the time, Target warehouse workers were paid like pretty well, and for the area, the average cost of living, you could afford a house and a family and a car and all these things. And at the same time, they also provided really good benefits for you and your family. So a lot of people started working there. I was born. I was living with my mom in a house that she was renting from one of her best friends. Was going to back to school to get her master's degree, but owned a house. So she just rented it out and rented out rooms to different friends. So I spent my first couple years living in a rental house with my mom and her roommates. One of her roommates would eventually become my Uncle Dallas. I married her sister. Another roommate was her first roommate, her cousin Danny, and we may have lived with her friend Monique, the actual owner of the house, at some point when she finished her school and came back to live at the house. So I lived with a bunch of 20-year-olds for my first couple of years, which was really interesting, but also lived in the same town as the rest of my family. So I spent a lot of time with my Aunt Angie and my Grandma Nancy, Grandpa Eloy, and Grandma Lucy, Grandpa Ramon. So I was in the picture pretty soon after their relationship started. And I was about 3 when they decided to get married. And they got married in August on my grandma and grandpa Kadina's farm. So they used to have this beautiful rose garden in the front of the house with like big hedges that just kind of made like the perfect altar.
Yeah, like a ready to go altar.
Exactly. So my grandma Nancy's and Grandpa Eloy's next door neighbor is a judge. He has married so many people in my family, including my parents, which I think is pretty cool. There's like this common thread there. That dad's band that he was in, he was in a 50s cover band at the time. They played at the wedding. All their family and friends were there. It was, my mom said, like the easiest thing ever. They hardly did any planning.
Yeah, it's not like built-in officiant and venue.
And was it music? Was
and
built
music.
in.
Yeah, it's just like easy and cost efficient. Like
it was very like kind of not potlucky in like that everyone brought a dish, but a lot of people just contributed where someone was like, hey, I'll bring some flowers, and like someone was like, I'll bring the little whatever you put on the tables, decorations, and someone was like, well, does someone buy your alcohol? I'll bring alcohol. And they're just like, sure, why not? Sounds good.
Community effort.
Very much community effort, but it's pretty cool to like, my cousin Matthew was the ring bearer. I was the flower girl. And it's kind of funny to like see a picture of my parents' like wedding day with like me in it with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then your brother and your sister came along a little bit later.
So my mom was actually pregnant with my brother when they got married. So they got married in August. He was born in February. So my brother's 3 years younger than me. And it was just the two of us for 11 years. They eventually moved out of the rented house because at that point, by the time my brother was born, my dad had moved in with my mom. Everyone else had kind of gone their separate ways. So that was our first house, was just a house that we rented from our family friend, which was really nice. And then my parents wanted to own their own house when I was like 5. My brother must have been 2. We moved across town to where we are, closer to Woodland High School. That has been their house ever since. That's like the house that we got to grow up in and change and, move back into and move back out of since then. And when my brother was 11 and I was 14, my little sister was born. And that just shook everything up, because all of a sudden it was like, we're older now. We're like older kids. I'm a, very young teenager, and he's a preteen. And all of a sudden there's a baby in the house. So being 14 and a big sister was kind of, I think, maybe a bit of a different relationship, because I very much had like a very sibling-like relationship with my brother. But with my sister being so young, it felt more like almost like a, this is my baby sort of relationship. So I kind of felt like almost a little bit of a motherly, I guess, responsibility for her. But not too long after that, I had moved out and gone to college. So she was, maybe 4 years old. And then I moved away. So I think distance for a while made it seem like she's less like my baby, and she's an adult now. So it feels a little bit more sibling-like than before. Yeah, no, it's great. So my parents grew up with us as little kids. They were pretty young. It wasn't super important, I think, raising 3 young kids, to keep certain things culturally consistent. My dad, his first language is Spanish, and he really wanted us to learn Spanish, even though my mom grew up in a household where like her dad's first language is Spanish, but her mom's first language is English. My mom grew up learning mostly English. So I think my dad would have been the person to kind of like initiate like some Spanish. Like he would incorporate a lot of like Spanish slang or just vocab words for easy things like food or locations or certain like bicycle and things like that. But for the most part, I think it was just, they're young, they have full-time jobs. My mom owned a preschool.
Ended up owning a preschool?
I think all she had was, I think, a certificate in she got her AA in child development later, because I remember her doing night school when we were kids. But as little kids, you could own a preschool and I think just get certified as a preschool teacher.
In the US, opening a preschool today looks very different than it did in the 1980s and the 1990s. Back then, directors and lead teachers often had a high school diploma and some college, learning much of the work on the job. Licensing and education standards varied widely across states, and regulations focused mainly on safety. Today, there's more emphasis on formal education and specialized training. Directors and lead teachers often hold degrees in early childhood education, but requirements still vary from state to state, reflecting the different approaches to early childhood education.
So when we were really small, either around when Nick was born or before he was born, she owned Children's Garden. And that's the preschool that I went to. It's where a lot of my cousins went, my brother went, some of my like childhood friends. My mom was their preschool teacher.
Yeah.
And as were my grandma Nancy and my Aunt Angie, they all worked for my mom. So they were all our preschool teachers. So spent a significant amount of time with the 3 of them growing up.
It's like a family business on your mom's side a little bit.
Yeah.
With your mom as the boss.
Yes, owner, boss, yeah. She did that for a long time, about 8 years. And then it wasn't until, later she went and worked for a nonprofit for a long time, volunteer nonprofit. And when Talia was born, that she very much wanted to be at home with Talia, my baby sister. She wanted to be able to spend that time with my sister and not have her go to someone else's preschool. So she started up her own preschool again, but did in-house this time on a much smaller scale. So she was a preschool teacher again so that she could teach my sister.
So your mom was all 3 of her kids' preschool teacher?
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds really special.
She was a good preschool teacher too. Like she was really great. I think she just didn't like the idea of her. She's like, if I have the ability to actually like provide the things that they need as small kids, because she does believe that like you should have the correct tools to be a teacher.
After the break, how Taryn's family is now reconnecting with their Mexican culture and what everyone is up to now. So what's your family's relationship to your Mexican culture and identity and heritage now? Like, has it evolved as you've grown up, and what is it like now?
So first off, just like visiting Mexico. We were always really consistent with going to the same place in Baja California, but I think changing it up a couple times in the past couple of years has been helpful to get to just know the country better, even though I don't personally have the strongest ties with people still there who are part of our family. I've had a couple opportunities, or I've had at least one opportunity to meet up with family the last time I was in Mexico. So we've all kind of gone on our own trips at different times. I went with my mom about 2 years ago, and it was the first time I got to meet some of my grandpa's cousins and my mom, who are my mom's cousins, and spending time with them, getting to practice my Spanish that I've had to learn as an adult, which is difficult when I'm inconsistent. But this last trip, it was nice because it was like, I've never met you before, but like, you're still my family. So there was a lot of curiosity to like learn about each other. They're a bit older than me, probably closer to, between my mom and my grandparents' age. But it was really cool to like bring up certain family members that I grew up with. And they're just like, oh, I remember some stories about them and when they took us here and when we would visit. At one point, my cousin took us to the town that she grew up in. And I don't know if it's changed in a very, very long time. It still has cobblestone streets. It still has this really beautiful big plaza where there's street vendors and like street food all over, and just like families out and about and children playing and people playing music. And it's just like a Thursday night at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And it's just like, this is where everyone comes together and hang out and like see their neighbor and, like eat. And it's like, this is just life. This is every day. And I was like, this is beautiful. I love this. This is really cool to see. So it was cool to go back to her home place. They live now in the suburbs of Mexico City, which is my first time going to Mexico City. I was really, really impressed with just how beautiful it is. It's an amazing technological metropolis. Like the public transportation is incredible. Yeah, I would absolutely go back. So talking to them about future plans to go down and visit them in Guadalajara would be really cool, because not only these are family members who have settled in Guadalajara who are maybe not from, the regions originally, but I also have family on my dad's side down there who would be cool to visit. My dad's made a trip down to go visit extended family down in Guadalajara, and that's been really important for him. And we, as a big, larger part of our family, have gone to just check out other parts of Mexico, also to vacation, but also to as an opportunity. Like when we go, we try and like practice our Spanish, and we try and like enjoy or like learn about new foods that are new to us, but are definitely important culturally or are significant, or you can only find certain foods or certain ingredients when you're there. So I feel like every time we go, it's not just a vacation, but it's also, we kind of treat it as a learning opportunity. So that's been really special. My little sister helped to start a new tradition of observing in a more significant way Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, is a Mexican holiday with deep indigenous roots, tracing back to Aztec and other pre-Columbian traditions that honored the cycle of life and death. With Spanish colonialization, these practices blended with Catholic observances like All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. November 1st Dia de los Inocentes honors children who have passed, while November 2nd, Dia de los Difuntos, is dedicated to adults. Families build ofrendas or offerings on home altars decorated with marigolds, candles, sugar skulls, photos, favorite foods, and personal items to welcome loved ones' spirits. Cemeteries are cleaned and communities gather for music, food, and processions. Rather than somber, Dia de los Muertos is a joyful reminder that those who came before remain alive through memory and story. Today, it's celebrated not only in Mexico, but across the United States and Latin America, with festivals, public altars, art, and community gatherings that carry these traditions forward.
So my family, we didn't grow up having altars. We didn't grow up having any sort of discussion about the holiday. So my sister started learning about it on her own and has like asked my parents if they could start just doing that every year. So now they have an altar for Dia de los Muertos, and it gets more beautiful and full every year. So I think that's pretty cool that she's asked to introduce that. There are a lot of things that we're all interested in individually that we'll go and seek out ways to get closer to our Mexican roots.
Do you think that, like in your family, the interest in connecting to the Mexican roots, has that increased recently? Like, has that increased recently? Like, and if so, like, did something happen that inspired this?
I think it's happened. It's progressed since I think the three of us have gotten older, and I don't know. I feel like there are definitely times when there are things about Mexican culture that I'll hear about or will, I don't know, see, or I don't know, if in media or whatever, that have like made us question like, why don't we do this, or why, what is the significance of this, and if this is actually like really important to family members from before. It's like, that'd be interesting to learn about. It'd be nice to kind of explore that. So I think it's curiosity. I think it's kind of, to us, a nice feeling to know a bit more about our heritage, because it kind of feels like we're celebrating it, when it seems like for a lot of my family members who are here now or from the past have had to work really hard to suppress it, to make their way and like navigate living here for a long time. So it's kind of just like a thing that feels a little lost, at least to me, that maybe would have been significant to former family members, or maybe not. Maybe they wouldn't, maybe they also didn't observe these things, but it's just a way to be like, I would like to know more about the culture in general, and I think it's kind of cool to just know a little bit more about our heritage. So,
And connect with it a little bit more, huh? It sounds like.
yeah.
It's interesting. I think when you say suppress, when you say, like maybe your grandfather's generation, grandparents' generation, like having to suppress some of their relationship to their Mexican heritage and identity, are you thinking in terms of language? Are you thinking in terms of, because when I hear this, you kind of talk about their situation, it sounds like definitely they had to learn English, and they definitely had to kind of find new ways of supporting themselves here and, building community and all this stuff. Also, they were so busy. But did it feel like they had to suppress some of the stuff besides the language?
So I know at least that, like you said, language and not speaking English was a big thing. For example, my grandpa did say that when they were little kids in school in Texas, they would be disciplined for speaking Spanish on the playground. So there was a long time that my grandpa said that he and his brother just never spoke to anyone, because they would get in trouble or hit for speaking Spanish. Their teacher said, you're not allowed to do that here. So that's kind of a severe form of suppression.
Yeah, learning to suppress it to get by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if this changed things, or if it was just something that he had to deal with. But I also know that my grandpa Eloy, as a little kid, would have to take his homemade lunch to school. And unlike the other kids that would have sandwiches or foods that they were familiar with in the town that were made by their moms, grandpa would have beans and tortillas and essentially like Mexican food in his lunchbox. And he would get bullied and teased for it because it just wasn't what other people in town who weren't Mexican ate. So I don't know if that resulted in him asking for something else or if he just didn't do anything, but there are just certain things like food and language, and I mean, not being able to like date one girl because her dad doesn't like Mexican people, but you
Right.
can date this other girl. Not like the best example, but just the things that happen and the things that result in your life and the choices you make and how you pivot because of it. There are a lot of examples that showed that their heritage, their culture, who they are, the place that they came from, played a role in that. So I think for me overall, just wanting to know more about where they're from, what this was about, whether it was like a specific part of tradition or culture that they actually interacted with or chose to interact with, or maybe could have the time or the money to interact with. If you are working for a farmer and you immigrated from Mexico and that time, you probably don't have a lot of time or a lot of money to focus on certain things. And if celebrations and observing important or significant traditions is just kind of overwhelming and just not really worth it at the time, I can imagine that that's just something that would just fall by the wayside. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Okay. Let's land the plane. Okay, let's land the plane. Couple of last questions. So now, present day, your mom, your dad, you, and your two siblings. What's everyone up to now?
Let's see. My dad he works full time in Woodland, actually just down the street from their house, which is super nice. He is still a musician. He performs pretty frequently for the Powerhouse Pub in Sacramento with his band Groove Line, and that uses a lot of time, and he loves it. I think it's really great for him. He's always been a very musical person, and I think it's something that he's going to continue to do for a long time. And my mom she got into local politics. She's on the city council. Last year, she served as mayor of Woodland. She's also been very active in her women's club, Seroptimus, which is a volunteer organization, and she's been really busy with that. And then on top of that, she runs the Food Closet in Woodland, which is a nonprofit that provides food for families in the area. My brother, he lives in Sacramento with his long-term girlfriend. They're both personal trainers and very active people. He actually competes and coaches jujitsu now. He's started picking that up. And they also have two adorable dogs together. So they're having a great time. And then my little sister is actually going into her junior year of college soon. So
Already?
already.
Gosh, I feel like I met her when she was teeny tiny.
So yeah, she'll be going down to CSU Long Beach. She spent the last year working in Woodland and going to community college. So using community college in Woodland is a fantastic school, and state of California has this really great program where if you're a full-time student, your first 2 years at community college are free. So I think taking advantage of that opportunity was really important. So yeah, she'll be heading back to school down in Long Beach in the fall. So very excited for her. And she's also
What is she studying?
so performing arts. She is a musician, a singer, a songwriter, and you can follow her on her YouTube channel. She puts out new material all the time. I think she's called Theater Greaser.
Talia's YouTube handle has now changed to @Leah Ray Official. That's Liarae. You can also find the link in this episode's show notes. And here's another treat, a clip of Leah Ray's upcoming original song, The Witching Hour.
Because I'm tired and angry of being a lady. It's calling out bad behavior makes me crazy. What the word sparked from my tongue? Something wicked this way comes. Oh, making magic from my thumb. Something wicked this way comes. What do we do now?
And then what are you up to now?
I am, let's see, I'll be celebrating my 2 years working at the Monterey Bay Aquarium in animal care.
Woo woo.
Woo woo. Yeah. So living in Monterey, I've been training for marathons over the past couple of years. So I've got one in May that I'm really excited about. And yeah, planning a wedding with my fiance.
Yay.
Yay.
A lot of things.
A lot of great things.
Is there something, personal project or something that you want to share with the listener besides what we've been talking about so far?
I feel like just volunteering when you have the time is really nice. When I've had the chance, Ricky and I, my fiance and I, are big fans of our local Surfrider Foundation. They have periodic beach cleans that they'll hold, and you can kind of make a competition out of it to see who can pick up the most trash. But it feels really good because you're getting together with a lot of like-minded people who love the ocean, want it to be protected, and you just spend a beautiful day at the beach. That's always a plus, getting to help make it more beautiful and healthy. And I think that when people spend time volunteering their time for a cause that they really care about or believe in, or it's just an opportunity to be somewhere beautiful for an afternoon and you are at the same time giving back in some way, shape, or form, is really good for us. They say that if you are feeling sad, depressed, a little hopeless, one of the best things you could do is an act of service for someone else, because you're not just potentially making that person's life a bit better, a bit easier, but you're also nourishing yourself, and it's a way to self-heal.
Volunteering can be powerful, not just for the community, but also for the well-being of the volunteers. Research shows that even a couple hours a week can reduce loneliness, ease depression, and support health, especially as we get older. But good intentions don't always guarantee good outcomes. The way we volunteer matters. That's why there's growing attention on responsible volunteering. Opportunities that are ethical, sustainable, and rooted in community priorities. The most meaningful efforts build on existing strengths rather than replace them. Take something like building a school. It comes from a place of generosity, but if local workers aren't involved, it can unintentionally take away jobs and weaken community businesses. So when we volunteer, it's worth asking, is this project and how it's run ethical, sustainable, and truly led by the community it's meant to serve?
So I just want to plug that volunteering.
Yeah. And I think it also, part of the self-healing part is that it also gets you out of your own head and your own worries a little bit, which sometimes can help.
Yeah. Action helps.
Last question. Do you have any sayings or idioms that you heard a lot when you're growing up?
I don't know. The one that just I keep thinking of, it's one that I think the only one I actually use nowadays, but it's not even anything deep or significant. It's just kind of funny.
What is it? Yeah, it doesn't have to be deep. I didn't say deep. I wasn't asking. And I think I need to like reiterate this to like my other guests. Like, I'm not asking like, what is the deepest, most profound thing that you ever heard that you grew up with that was so like intrinsic to? No, it's just like, what's something that you heard a lot when you were growing up? That's it. Could be funny. Totally.
Yeah, I guess like my parents living with, little kids who are impatient and just want parents to do things for them. my mom got not fed up, but my mom would definitely not want to do things for us if she knew we were capable of doing it. So if we're looking for something, we can't find something, just like ask my mom to like help us look. And my mom would not. She'd be like, this is for you to do. This is your job. You're going to find it. But she just had like a funny saying where she'd be like, oh, it's behind the sugar. And
Everything
like,
is at her.
It doesn't matter where it is. It just means like move things around, like take things out if you have to. Don't just push something aside and like peek and say it's not there. And it came from her great grandma, who would say that to my grandma Nancy when growing up, of like, if you can't find something, it's just like, it's behind the sugar. It's always behind the sugar. Just move the sugar.
I love that.
So
I love that.
I now, living with my lovely fiance, there have been times where look in our fridge or the pantry and say like, I can't find something, or do we have something? And I'm just like, move things around behind the sugar. Like, come on. Usually if he takes things because the couple times that I've gone over to look, I'm just like, move one thing. Here you go.
It's just right there.
And he's just like, okay, I need to start doing this. So it's a reminder, like, it's behind the sugar, move things around, not coming over there.
I love this one. And I feel like it feels like I must have like pre-planned this with you to say this. When Ruben hears this, he will be like, Jess, did you tell Taryn to say this? And I'll be like, no, because literally the man, like Ruben has a really hard time finding things because he just looks. And I'm always like, my catchphrase to him regarding this thing is like, look with your hands, you know, look with your hands.
Look with your hands.
But then he likes to get into this debate with me of like, but if you didn't put it in the right place. And I'm like, that happens in life. Yes, I need to get better at putting things where they should go, but things are not always going to be where they should go.
Right.
And sometimes you just got to move things around.
Yeah.
So I love that. It's behind the sugar.
Behind the suger.
Gotta use that. It's great. Yeah.
Oh, I hope it helps Ruben.
I hope it helps me.
Yeah.
To be able to not have to get up and, yes.
Yep. It's like, you can find it. If I can find it, you can find it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Taryn.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this a lot.
Okay, good.
It's like,
Me too.
It's really special to get to hear these stories from anyone. Somehow it feels like, you know, when it's a friend that you've known for a while, but then it's like all these other layers that you hadn't gotten to see before. It's just really nice to kind of get to see these other layers.
Yeah. No, it was really nice to talk to you about it too. 'Cause it's like, we've never like shared any of this before.
Yeah. Love you, friend. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thank you. Love you. Tell Ruben I say hi.
I will. Thanks so much for listening. In the show notes, you'll find ways to connect with and follow Leah Ray, as well as Taryn's dad, Ray, and his band, Grooveline. My next guest is my friend Hakeem, a Black American therapist from New York. He shares about growing up in the church his grandparents started, finding the courage to come out as queer, and how he thinks of community today. He's full of depth, and we had a really rich conversation. Subscribe or follow and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. If you enjoyed this episode, there are a few ways to support this homegrown indie podcast. Share the episode with a friend. Word of mouth really helps us grow. Donate via the link in the description to help keep these stories of representation coming. Stories that don't reduce our experiences to stereotypes, but bring nuance in our everyday narratives to the forefront. And finally, leave a comment. It's always fun to hear from you. A special thank you to Ray Cadena for sharing his cover vocals for Earth Angel, and to Leah Ray for sharing original music and vocals for The Witching Hour. I love how these clips immerse us even more into the conversation. This episode was produced and edited by me, with advising and executive production support from Ruben Nana Ruben. I'm Jess Lynn. See you soon.